Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's all about Parent Talk with Kary. That's right. She joins us again here live today on the show to talk more about, well, the work she does that's helping you, moms, dads. Listen up, kids, if you're listening, adolescents. She's here to really help them. She's a psychotherapist, and she specializes in the mental health and treatment of children and adolescents. So I'm letting you all know she's good. She can help you with so much. So parenttalkwithkary.com. That's Kary.com. Welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Great to see you again. Please introduce yourself to our listeners before we begin. Thank you.
So I am Kary Valdes, and I do mental health treatment for children and adolescents. I do specialize in EMDR, which is a trauma therapy that I do with adolescents, and I will see adults. I don't know if we've ever talked about that, Jill, but I will see adults, but I only see adults for trauma. So it's called an intensive, which means that all of the sessions are a 2-hour minimum because my thoughts are like, go big or go home, right? Like, let's get it done. So the other part is when I think about working with adults and doing EMDR, I actually work on that child part of them that was injured, right? So it's not just regular psychotherapy that I do with adults. It is real specific to trauma. So I still feel like I'm helping children when I do EMDR with adults.
Got it. Well, thank you. I didn't know that. See, you learn a lot, but you're versatile and well-spoken and clearly educated in this and offering that free 30-minute consultation to parents out there. Again, go to the website or call 615-738-8708. And, just an overview. You're helping, obviously, you mentioned, children, right? You have your own children. I have a 7 and 9-year-old. Nobody talked about that. And it's never easy, but just good to know. And you're not alone. So, we all have these feelings, and sometimes it's really difficult, but we can help get through it. But sometimes we can't, and we need some extra advice from someone like yourself, right? So, did you want to walk through, the lifespan? You mentioned about some tips for the teenage years now, because I hear that's different. Mine are 7 and 9, and my sister's dealing with the teenage years, and it hasn't been easy for her kids either.
Right. It can be hard. So what's great about the approach that I use is that all the stuff that we're talking about with your 7 and 9-year-old is stuff that's going to help them as they go into their teenage years, right? So like last time we talked about giving choices. Well, what happens when we get into adolescents and teenagers, even middle schoolers, they start fighting more for independence, right? So it's, I can do it. And remember, we learn faster by making mistakes on our own.
Yeah.
So when you get into teenage years, a lot of parents are real concerned about this. I actually like teenagers, right? Okay. I have a good rapport with teenagers. I like my kids when they were teenagers. Are they snarky and rude and moody and what? Like many times I'm like, what is happening right now, right? Especially when we turn on the hormones for stuff. And hormones come not like in a nice gradual way, right? Like for girls, hormones come every month and we peak and we drop and we peak and we drop. So there's a whole balance of learning that, and that usually happens in middle school. So there's like, as a parent with girls, there is a learning curve that has to help them because they feel like they aren't managing it. They don't know why they're crying. They don't know why they're so upset. And even with the boys, because they get surges too. I mean, my kids during adolescence, it was tough. It was tough years because you could see them struggling just in their hormones in themselves, right? Yeah. Like getting really mad about stuff and then kind of going, I don't even know why I'm still so mad. Like, I don't know what's going on kind of thing. And being able to kind of sit back and laugh at it without taking everything so personal. Like sometimes parents think that when they get into teenage years, they got to get real strict. They got to make sure there are firm limits and boundaries. And whoa, the teenage years, and they've been afraid of the teenage years all this time, right? But it's not like that. Like I tell parents, I'm like, think about high school specifically as we're on the clock. We got 4 more years. We got 4 years to prepare them to launch into an extended education or into the job market or whatever it is, you're on the clock. And 4 years is not a lot of time, right? So in that time, they learn to drive, they start relationships, they experiment with different things. Like, this is a very important part of development.
Yeah.
And the more supportive and on the same page that we are with them, the better it's going to be, because they themselves are struggling physically, biologically in their bodies. They are struggling, right?
Yeah.
And then you throw in all the other things that come at kids that I didn't have to experience, right? There was no social media when I was in high school. We didn't have computers. I didn't have computers through college, right? I didn't have that kind of stressor in my life that makes it harder for them. So to be supportive and listening during adolescence is more helpful, and not just strict rules that you're passing on because those are the rules your parents had for you, right? This is the way I was parented. This is the way I'm going to parent you. Well, it doesn't actually always work, because they're only half you. The other half of them is your partner.
Yeah.
Right? Only half you. So you might have done well with this, with this type of parenting.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they will. So it's knowing each child individually. So I always tell parents, and they always kind of look at me like I'm a little crazy when I say this, but it's kind of like curfew, for example. It's not, you have to be home by 10 or you have to be home by 11. That's it. That's the rule.
Got it.
It should be more of a conversation, like, what time, where are you going? Who are you going to be with? And how much time do you need to be there?
Yeah.
And then we are talking and communicating. So you're getting more information, not in an angry way, but in a, now you know who they're really with. You know where they are really going. And you get to know, okay, how much time do you need? Now, if they say, well, I'm thinking like 2:00 in the morning, right? Then you get to laugh, right? And go, okay, no, for real. Like, what time? Come on. And then it is a conversation with mutual respect for each other, right? So then they might still push it, and then you, like, midnight. They might be like midnight. And I would say things like, okay, do you really need that much time? Because curfew is earlier than that. Like, you can't be out past 11. Like, can you get this done and be home in time? Right? And then it's a conversation. And then when they don't stick to it,
Yeah.
it's just a consequence. It's not a debate, because they themselves have agreed to this. They know they did not follow the rules.
Yeah.
They talked about it with you. So when there is a reasonable consequence that follows, nobody's surprised.
Yeah.
Right? That's just how it goes. Now, sometimes they might be willing to risk it, depending on what it is. And you follow through with the consequence, and we just move on. Right? But it's the relationship is really important as we start getting into adolescence and these teenage years. And I've told parents, I would like for you to say yes as much as you can. I would like for you to say yes, because I want them to make, like, mistakes that you can help them get through before they leave forever. I don't want them to make all their first mistakes their freshman year of college, right? This doesn't help. This is when I have kiddos that come back. They come back, they flunked out, they got kicked out, or their anxiety is so bad that they can't manage it. Right? Because they've not been allowed to have the real world present to them. And then when they get to college, it's too much for them.
Well, there's, I want to say yes more too. Right? Got to trick them in a sense, because, like, with my kids, I say a lot of no now. I do. And I find that only causes more confrontation, more, right? Say yes more, but how do I say yes more in moderation?
So that's a good question. And sometimes, so we say, I have to think about it, like, even with my own boys, I was like, okay, why would I say no? They have great grades. They are doing everything they're supposed to do. They work hard. I can see that there is actually no reason for me to say no and to not trust them, because they haven't done something to make them untrustworthy. You know what I mean? Like, I would give them the benefit of the doubt first, right? And even when they do make mistakes, if they follow through with the things like taking responsibility for it, feeling bad about it, you know what I mean? Like attunement, I mean, not attunement, oh Lord,
I don't know the
not
word.
penance.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm trying to pull
but like just feeling like that they get that what they did was wrong. This is still a win for you. It's still a win. Like, okay, that is a great life lesson that my child just learned. No way they're going to do that again. Kind of, right? Mm-hmm. So setting limit, it's kind of like, okay, yes, you can go as long as you continue to be kind and respectful and, listen to mom and be nice to me.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like have all the values that we taught you, right? Of course, you can go, right? Now, there are things at your boys' age that, my boys at your kids' age were not allowed to sleep out Friday and Saturday night. They just couldn't do it. I learned that because when they slept out 2 nights on the weekend, nothing got done on Sunday. They were cranky. The weekend was just the wash. Parents get mad too. Parents get mad when you let kids stay up all night. Your child slept at somebody's house and the parents didn't ever make them go to bed and they have a full day on Saturday. And the child is cranky and moody and sleeping the whole time. Right. So this is something that you've learned that your child doesn't manage well. So then it's okay. You sleep out one night on the weekend. Which one would you like?
Give them the choice. Give them the options.
Right. And then the choices doesn't go away, right? Even when they want something, if they ask for something, okay, well, do you want that or do you want this? Because we can't manage both. Even if it's going to do things like, oh, I have to pay for the trampoline park. That's a lot. Or you want me to pay for a movie. Which one is going to be best for you? Because we can't do both because of the money situation. Just an example, right?
Yeah.
And then they still get to pick what it is, right? Or do you want to do this that you can do with your brother? Or would you rather do this that you just have some alone time with your friend, right? And it's still giving them choices about even going to do things.
Yeah. Like you told me to give my kids choices when it comes to their homework. It's not do the homework now, like I try to do, and it never works, and they get angry and nasty and mean. It's give them the choice. Would you like a snack now? Would you like the iPad for 30 minutes? And it's been working great. And for, the accountability factor of them, oh, another five. No. I did that a few times, gave them the 5, got them into it, and then I have not had a problem until yesterday. Yesterday was a problem. My little guy, 7, he had his heart set on building another Lego. I can't stand Legos, by the way. You lose one piece, and the anxiety of losing the piece and getting frustrated is worse than, it ruins the whole fun of it. Anyway, and he never asks that. So I'm like, okay, we could do the Lego when you come home from school. We have the dentist. Do the Lego when you get home. Then we'll do the homework. So that's not a problem. But last night then, I guess he's tired. We did the dentist. He built the Lego. Well, part of it. And then he got frustrated because he lost a piece. So that's probably where this behavior thing came out. And I said, okay, well, now it's time. You promised, we're going to do the homework now. And he had a meltdown. And I think it was because of the Lego. So I gave in a sense. And I said, okay. I said, we'll do this. I said, let's do your bath, your shower now. And then, in the morning, would you like to do your homework then? He says, yes, please. I'm like, okay, so it's not going to be a problem in the morning. No. Woke him up this morning. He didn't want to do the homework, and I was mad. So I said, I gave you all these chances. I said, you had a choice to do it after school. Mommy let you. I tried explaining to him. He's not going to understand it, right? What mommy let you do. And then last night I gave you the choice. Gave me a really hard time. I had to fight with him to do the homework this morning, which we got done. But it was one time so far in like a week that he gave me a hard time. The other one, the 9-year-old, has been great with it. He loves his snack, he loves his iPad, and he's been doing his work. So I got to commend him. And even the little guy, but it was just one bad night because I think the whole losing that piece of the Lego set him off and set mom off too. But right. I like that, giving them choices. And that's something you taught me, we addressed on previous shows, and you're talking about today as well. You still got to give them choices. I like that.
Yeah. And just for a little bit more of a suggestion when you talked about the Legos, okay. Right? we lose Legos. Like, that's just part of the deal. And he's only 7.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, stuff happens. And this is a great opportunity for him to learn that stuff just happens and we lose things and things don't go our way, because that is so real life, right?
Yeah.
Things don't go our way.
Yes.
We have to learn to roll. We just do all the time. We have to just change course and figure it out.
Okay.
So a great opportunity is that he lost the Lego, right? But the part is, wow, man, I know I hate when I lose stuff too. It's no fun, and now it doesn't go together the way it was supposed to, but it's still supposed to be fun, right? And if it's not fun, then are you sure you want to play with Legos anymore? And then ask him and see what he says. Like, he's going to say, well, yeah, I still want to play with Legos. And then you get to say things like, but you're still going to lose pieces. We're going to lose pieces, and you get so upset. What are you going to do? And then see what he says. Well, I'll try not to get so upset. Well, it would be good, because it kind of takes the fun out of doing it. Like, because it ruined your night last night.
Yeah.
And this could be a conversation you have today when things are good.
Okay.
Right? You aren't upset about the Lego. You aren't upset about, you had a whole day of school in between, upset about homework. So having a conversation and going, because it's real life. Like, we're going to lose Legos.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so little. Come on. I'm going to vacuum one of those pieces up. That's happening. One's going to fall down the vent in the floor.
Yes.
The dog is going to take one. One's going to get kicked under the bed. That's just how it is. But what are we going to do? Does it ruin our whole night like it did last night?
Yeah.
Or can we roll and just kind of know that this is going to happen, and we got to find a way to just make it okay?
Oh my gosh. Well, and then I also Googled today, there is a hotline I can call. So I can also make that part of the solution. He can still get his piece. It's going to take a while, but I did Google that earlier this morning.
Is that a hotline for Lego pieces?
There's supposedly like a model number. I got to look into the instructions for each piece in the back of the guide, and you call them. If you're missing one, they'll send it to you. Sometimes if it's more than one, I think you got to pay for it, but it's probably not much money. I'm going to call it later after work. Who knew?
And gosh, if you can use that as a tool, think about how great that is. You know what Mom's going to do, because I know you get so upset. Well, I'm going to do this for you this time. Next time, we got to figure out how you can pay for your pieces that you lose.
Right? That's a good one.
It's hard to keep track of them. So the choices then become, we get over it quickly, acknowledge that we lose pieces because nobody's perfect, and that's okay.
Yep.
Or you lose pieces, and they might be important pieces, and you are willing to pay to get that piece replaced. And I will certainly help you figure that out. Like, how do we call and do all that?
Took my notes.
But it is
taken. Yep. Okay, good.
Yeah, that's a great way to manage.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And we got to remind everyone who we're talking to. Kary, how do we contact you? My goodness.
I'm Kary Valdes. You can contact me through my website at parenttalkwithkary.com. You can email me at KaryValdesLCSW@gmail.com. And you mentioned earlier today, my phone number is 615-738-8708.
Perfect.
Also, still working on my book. Still got to work through the editing. I'm more than half through my editing. And the book will be, I think, Your Child Came with This Manual.
Yeah, we all do.
I'm hoping that those that need it will reach out.
And by the way, when do you figure it's going to be done? When can we, is there any projected date of next year?
You know what, Jill? I actually need a date. Somebody needs to give me a date, because what the problem is I keep doing other things. Like, there's always something else for me to do. And I have clients that I see and therapy notes that I need to do. And you know what I mean? Other research I need to do, and calling back parents and doing all these things, right? That it just keeps getting bumped back. And I know this about me, if I had a date, then I would be better at getting it done. But it's one of those things, and I get all the people that like procrastinators, that's me.
So funny,
people that wait until the last minute, that's me. I still end up getting it done when there's a date, but when there's no date, Joe, I have been working on this for probably 3 years because there
Wow.
are months at a time that I just sit.
I get it. I get it. I know. I'm a procrastinator myself with a lot of things, but
Mhm.
yeah, sometimes we need someone to give us that deadline. Mm-hmm.
Yes, 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 yes. And I'm doing so. It's going to be through Hay House. I don't know if
Okay.
you guys are familiar with Hay House.
No, no,
It's
no.
the publishing company. The self-publishing company is called Balboa Press,
Okay.
and I love Hay House too. It's like Louise Hay started it, right? Dwayne Dyer, his books on there, and you know what I mean. All these other kind of self-help
Mm-hmm.
books are through Hay House, so I kind of
Okay.
like that. But hopefully, the book will be done not for Christmas.
All right. Oh my goodness.
Somewhere in
Yay.
2025.
Oh my goodness. Well, it'll happen. It will happen. Obviously, something you're working hard on, you believe in, and it will happen. And then we're
Yeah.
gonna have a whole book press tour and more promotion. It'll be so much fun. And by the
So
way, you're
fun.
based out of Nashville, so people know, but doesn't mean anything much because they could contact you and work with you anywhere, right? With your teenager or your kid or as a parent. Did you want to share more about the respect aspect? I know about. You said it's really important to be respectful to kids, to teach them
Right.
that respect, right?
And parents think that kids are supposed to always respect them. He has no respect. She
Mm-mm.
has no respect. You are supposed to respect me. And what happens is that we are actually the ones that start that when they're little, right? Do we respect them? Do we respect their time? Do we respect their body? Do we respect them? Do we just always bust into their bedroom without at least knocking first? Do we change the TV when they're in the middle of a show? Do we just snatch the pad out from them because that's what we do? This is not respect, right? Do we talk to them terribly? Respect goes both ways, right? If we want them to respect us, we need to role model what respect looks like first. And that happens from zero through adolescence and until they leave, right? We have to respect. How would you talk to your friend? Right? How would you talk to other people? We don't talk to children terribly and expect that they're going to talk to us nicely too, right? And respect is so important, and it starts with us respecting them. And I don't think most parents actually realize that, right? But we role model. How do we teach respect? Is by role modeling respect for them. So if we can do that in the younger years with kids, right, then as they get older, it certainly helps with all of the relationship stuff that we've been talking about, right? We don't want kids to not do things because they fear what we're going to do. We want kids to make decisions based on how it is going to affect their life, right? We don't want kids drinking and driving because they might. What if my mom finds out? I'll be granted forever. They'll take the car away. That is not a reason to not drink and drive. A reason to not drink and drive is because of how it affects you. You get caught, and that you could disappoint your parent because you have respect for them. You aren't going to do crazy, risky things, not for fear of them, but because you don't want to disappoint them, because you love your parents and your parents love you. And that is what guides behavior, right? So it's not the fear. We don't want kids to fear us.
Mm-mm.
We want them to just have this respect and not want to disappoint us.
I like that. You're right, fear, because that was the fear factor. I feel like that was the thing of the past. The older generation would fear. I would assume where my dad grew up, how I hear horror stories of fear. I don't think that worked. Then you get the next generation. I think people just like trying to be your best friend, right? And now, well, how we describe it? It's not being a best friend. It's parenting, but it's also friendship. It's like a combination because, right?
Well, it's parenting. They need to know that you're going to hold them accountable. They need to know that there are lines and boundaries, that you're going to hold them accountable in a loving way, but hold them accountable nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
Like kids do need limits and boundaries. Kids that don't have limits and boundaries have lots of anxiety, right? And we've talked about that too. So they need to know what the limits are, mainly because they're kids and they don't know. They actually don't know what the limits are. We help them figure that out by holding them accountable for things. But it also teaches them how to be responsible for themselves, right? How to take care of themselves, how to care for others. So it is about a mutual relationship for each other. But as a parent, we always want to be the parent because they need to know that I got you. I can handle anything you have. I'll love you through everything, even though there has to be consequences. I'm going to love you no matter what happens. We still have to respond to this bad behavior and the bad choices that you're making, right? But I'm still your person. Like, I got you no matter what.
It reminds me of that song, I'm Going to Love You Through It. Is that by Martina McBride, I think? You got to look it up. It's a good one. Yes, it does. And the advice that you're offering, you mentioned today, by the way, this is our last show, right?
Yes.
Oh, so sorry, but it's been great. Well, let's just stay on a few more minutes here if we can. And for those that may not know, all the work that you're doing, you also do the EMDR. If you want to just touch upon some of the other services, you do the therapy, the parenting, there's speaking. I mean, there's a lot to you. So just take another few minutes, if you don't mind, just give me another little overview or we'll finish up for today.
I do have a YouTube page. It's called Parent Talk with Kary.
Okay.
And it's a lot of videos that I've done. So on Sunday, I'm doing a parenting video at the church here, St. Stephen's in Mount Juliet. And the presentation is on kids and technology, right? So we're going to record it and I will upload it to my YouTube page for people to watch there.
Good.
Right. And then, so then there's the possibility of doing the Zoom classes. I can obviously go and speak in other places, right? I've spoken at high schools and things, spoken with parents of kids in high schools when bad stuff has happened, right? That affects everyone. And we usually talk, when I do that, it's some kind of trauma, like death. You know what I mean? Like a student died.
Mm-hmm.
How do we manage that kind of stuff? I've done Zoom calls with schools, with parents, when bad stuff has happened, because everybody is really worried about how to manage this. So when you are worried and something bad has happened, reaching out, because we will find a way, right? Because I'm in private practice, I get to do Zoom calls. I get to meet when the schedule works for both of us. I get to do things a little with more freedom, right, than the confines of like a business structure kind of thing. So it's much easier for me to be flexible with parents when there's stuff going on. And even when kids are struggling, I've gotten phone calls. Well, I've gotten texts in the middle of the night that unfortunately I slept through, because kids text and they don't call, right?
It's different.
So,
I know.
and I had one of my little girls was talking about killing herself. And I woke up and the first thing I saw is that on my phone. The first call I made was to her, and the second call was to her mom. And we were able to get like quick. That's fairly quick. If she'd have called and I'd woken up, that would have been better, right? Because I could be available for her. But she's great now, right? She's okay. She just needed support. So, and part of being a therapist, we know that this is what we do, and I think of it as one kid at a time. I help the masses, like I help more children when I do parenting stuff, because it trickles down to all the kids in the family, right? So if you have 3 kids or 2 kids, therapy, I usually can do one at a time, like one child at a time. But if I get to do parenting stuff, when you think about it, it impacts the whole family. All of the children. That's why parenting stuff can be so helpful. And a lot of times I don't have to see the kiddos, because when the parents and I are on the same page, when I get the parents on the same page, it works out well. And then we get to problem solve together, right? And I get to be, we can meet weekly. Then we go a couple of weeks and parents like try the stuff that we've talked about. We come back together and they get to say, okay, this didn't work. This worked great. And then we get to tweak things, right? And it's amazing how the whole system, the whole family system can change by just changing some of the things that you're doing in parenting. And then I get to get my little therapy high and happiness, because I know that I get to help more kids when I help more parents.
Oh, beautifully said. I love it. And clearly, with your experience, with your love and passion for helping so many, I see you with the book on stage doing your publicity tour within the next year. Right. And want to thank you for being here. And would you mind sharing all the ways we can reach out to you again and leave us off with some more advice?
Okay. So, parenttalkwithkary.com, right? Kary Valdes, LCSW at Gmail.
Okay.
And then I guess the best thing, the most important thing, and it keeps coming to me, Jill, I keep hearing this over and over in the past couple of weeks. I've been hearing the truth is the truth all the time, right? We don't lie. We don't lie to kids. Remember, we tell the truth in an age-appropriate way. And your relationship with your children is the most important thing that you will have all the time, is your relationship with the kids. We don't take it for granted all the time. Even when they're 3, it's important to have a relationship with your kids. When they're 8, it's important to have a relationship with your kids. When they're in college, it's important to have a relationship with your kids. They always want us to be there. They really, really need us to be their mom and their dad. Yep. They do want hugs. Even through adolescence, adolescent boys still want to be hugged. Adolescent girls still want to be hugged. You just don't need to do it in an embarrassing way.
Got it.
So your relationship is so important with your children.
Oh, thank you for that. And we'll remember that the holidays are here too, and we just got to be grateful, thankful, and know it'll be okay. But there's things you need to work through, and we need sometimes a neutral perspective. Thank you again.
Yeah.
Parent Talk with Kary, Kary.com. Pleasure having you here. And until next time, I'll say, hopefully we'll speak again. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Parenting can be so hard. Sometimes we just get stumped and have no idea what to do. We have no idea what to say or how to respond. Or we don't know what to do with this behavior. And sometimes nothing seems to be working. My name is Kary Valdes, and I have been working with children and families for over 25 years. If you are feeling stumped and like your parenting skills aren't working, please reach out to me at parenttalkwithkary.com.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve. Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.